The Woman for the Job. Chapter 10. It Ends. By Crandall. When Elsie escaped through the bus hole, she ran blindly toward the forest. Seconds later, a ferocious blast knocked her to the ground. Debris clattered down around her, some hitting her back and legs. Propping herself up on her elbow and looking back, she saw Morningstar going up in flames. "Oh, God," she whispered. Tears ran down her face. She started to get herself off the ground, wanting the bog. She realized with a crash that the bog was dead, killed by Madame in her insanity. Elsie slumped back to the ground onto her stomach, burying her face in her arms, warm from the blaring heat of the flames. Everything. Nothing. A numb emptiness wriggled through Elsie, slowly disconnecting her from the world. Her world had always been Morningstar, the bog. For many generations, her family had tended to the bog. It was all she knew, all she had grown up with. She thought of her mother's dying words, "Do your best. It must continue." She had done her best. She felt like it had changed her, how she acted toward Fiona, how she acted toward the guests of Morningstar. It consumed her like it had so many heads. Elsie raised her head, looking toward the forest. She could see a small, flaming object on the forest edge and watched as grass started to ignite. "Not that too," she said, and rushed to put out the fire. Elsie stomped the object that had started the small blaze and successfully eliminated the risk to standby forest. She picked the object up, horrified to recognize it. It was a greasy, floppy ball cap with a name tag pinned to the side. "Hank," she read. Elsie fell to her knees, clutching the hat to her breast and sobbing. The first time Elsie had seen Hank, she had been outside, tending to the garden, and he stepped out of Morningstar. He had just signed a deal with Madame to drive for Morningstar. He stepped off the porch and squinted into the air, then took his ball cap out of his back pocket and fixed it to his head. Her mouth went dry, and she started shaking. She couldn't take her eyes off of him. That was when he noticed her and approached. "Working hard or hardly working?" he asked playfully. Elsie felt her face tingle, and she knew she was blushing bright red. She couldn't speak. As he stood next to her, their eyes locked, she felt parts of her body tingle she had forgotten she possessed. "Either way," Hank said with a smile, "you look good doing it." Elsie heard herself laugh in an embarrassingly hysterical way. They chatted for a few minutes longer, and then he asked her on a date. Dating Hank was a dream. He showed her things she had never seen before, taking her into the city, a place she was never allowed to go. Mentally and physically, they understood each other, and soon they knew they had to be together forever. Hank proposed, and Elsie gratefully accepted. Their hope was to move to the city and start the last chapter of their lives living in bliss. But, as excited about the prospect as Elsie was, there was one thing standing in her way: Madame. One evening, over after-dinner coffee and sweets, Elsie broached the subject with Madame. "I'm getting married," Elsie said. Madame's eyes flared wide for a moment, and her face became even more pale. But she quickly recovered her composure and said, "To whom? That dirty busman? I thought we had agreed that you were no longer going to see that man." Elsie's temper erupted, but she also kept a calm exterior. "No," she said. "You told me I had to stop seeing him, and I disagreed. I never stopped seeing him. I love him." Madame scoffed and rolled her eyes. "You are a fool, Elsie. You know you are too old to have a baby." They held tense eye contact for a few silent moments. "I'm getting married. I'm moving to the city. Hank and I haven't considered having a baby." "Ah, I see. Moving to the city? I don't think so. You are not leaving here, Elsie. You know why. You have Fiona." Yes, and she can still produce a child. Here's an idea. Your busman and Fiona will be married. Marriage is for family making. Elsie stood, the blood rushing to her head as she clamped her hands into fists. You are disgusting, she spat. And you are delusional, Madame countered. You know this romance will never work, and you know you will never leave Morningstar. Elsie stormed out of the room, afraid she would start to cry. Elsie knew Madame was right. She would never leave, even if she was technically capable of doing it. That night, she broke off the engagement with Hank. He was angry and confused and rushed over to Morningstar. Elsie led him to the bog and told him the story of her family and why she couldn't leave. Then I'll come here, live at Morningstar, Hank said. Elsie, we need to be together. Don't you feel that way anymore? Of course I do, but Madame would never allow you to live here without us producing children. In our culture, it just isn't right. Then let's have a baby. There must be a way. Elsie touched Hank's face and kissed him. Their tears mingled as they made out, and Elsie suddenly knew what she had to do. Slowly they undressed. She took his hand and led him into the claggy bog. They made love in the bog. Elsie had an instinct that it would work, that she would conceive. And now, Morningstar and her bog husband were lost in the inferno in front of her. Her hand protectively went to her stomach as she stood. At least there was something of Hank left in this horrible world, something of their love. A few drops of rain fell. She had to get somewhere warm and safe. She stumbled to the barn, still clutching Hank's burned hat. Closing the door behind her, the rain started coming down hard. She went to the pile of blankets in the corner of the barn. While selecting the least crusty one, she uncovered a bucket with a lid on it. Taking the lid off, she was immediately struck with a scent she thought she had lost forever. The bog. It was a bucket of bog juice. Madame must have kept it in emergency supply to ensure that Oracle and her robot minions would be okay if something happened to the bog. Elsie screamed in delight and relief. She could rebuild Morningstar, regrow the bog, raise her child the way she saw fit, and tend the bog the way she knew in her soul was right. She had lost everything. She was alone, but in the rebuilding would be a revolution, and she was the woman for the job. Hello, bonjour. I'm Crandall, and this is our friend Ripley. Say hello.
Hello.
Welcome to A Few Dozen Monkeys, the podcast that answers the question, if an infinite number of monkeys can write Shakespeare, what can a few dozen monkeys do? And we did it. We're done. That's it.
That's what they can do.
Chapter 10.
They did it.
Hi, Rip. How you doing?
I'm celebrating. Chapter 10.
How did you like Chapter 10?
I love Chapter 10. It was nice. Get a little comeback for Hank. Hank got a real role that we didn't see happening.
Yeah, the 1,000-word limit was really a challenge on this chapter for me. I had to cut out a lot of stuff and leave out a lot of stuff I would have liked to put in there to make it more flavorful. But the bare bones are there,
Best
and
you can,
the
with a
story
rip up.
story is there.
And bog juice.
Yes, I used the term bog juice.
Yeah,
so
I was
that.
really happy about that. And it was in a bucket, so I also like that.
Yeah.
It was a bucket of bog juice.
So did you buy their romance?
Oh, 100%.
Oh, was it a Swind? Let's do this.
No.
Let's do the Swind song, and then we'll.
All right.
Okay, ready? SWIND. Are they in love or just horny? Swind. Okay. So Swind is a acronym of a thing that I made up to find out if something is a romantic situation. Let's go through. Let's say their first meeting, because that's really the only situation that they were in besides fucking in the bog. S stands for spontaneous or surprise. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, it was. They didn't know they were going to meet each other.
Mhm.
W, weird lighting. No. I is isolation. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's 2.
N is nature.
No.
She was working in the garden.
Working.
I would say that, okay, fine. And D is dancing or at least music, and
No.
that's a no.
That's a no.
So I will argue that it is marginally a romantic situation because it got, 2 3/4, and the limit and the lower limit is 3 for it to be a romantic situation. I deem it marginally romantic.
All right.
Do you?
I assume their first date was romantic, but I don't think this was romantic.
I
I imagine her grubbing around in the dirt.
To be honest, I did not think about Swind when I was writing it.
Yeah.
I just kind of let whatever was going to happen.
Otherwise, you'd have music in the background and carrying a boom box or something.
Oh, yeah, I just would have made it so that she, I don't know, had an armful of flowers or something, and
yeah,
he
that'd be
picked
much
one
better.
up and said, "Oh, here's a beautiful." Then again, that would have went over my 1,000-word limit. So.
And I don't think that's Hank's style.
I mean, yeah, that's true. That's true. Now you made the character of Hank up, so
Yeah, I did not see that happening.
did he act in a Hank way? Do you
I think so. It was pretty basic, so Hank's a basic guy. And you also get the shock of like, why is she clutching his greasy hat? And then you find out, but still you get that at the beginning.
Thank you.
Nice, yeah.
Yes.
And when a greasy thing fell out of the sky, I thought it was going to be a clump of bog or something like that, but no.
Yeah, because I don't know. I don't know. The whole thing's about families, and sure, she's middle-aged and shouldn't be able to have babies anymore, but that's what the fucking in the bog magic
Yeah, if it
is
can
all
make
about.
giant monsters, it can make a tiny monster.
And I
in
did.
your belly. Belly bog monster.
So, anyway, that's good. This is gonna be really short because obviously we don't have to do any brainstorming because it's over.
I also like how weird Madam was about babies.
Yeah, I don't know. I had to have some kind of conflict there. I don't know. It's what came up in my brain. Like when I'm writing stuff, I kind of think about stuff for a while and then I just kind of blurp it out.
Yeah.
And I kind of listen to what's in my brain and kind of watch a little movie or something and write it down. It's kind of weird, but I think that's
Everything,
normal.
Yeah, it has a purpose and it's entertaining.
Yes.
And it goes along with the character, so 3 of 3.
There you go. All right, so here's some stats. I only have 2 stats.
Oh, stats, okay.
It ended up being 9,152 words over the 10 chapters, and 3 of those chapters were written by our new friend of the pod, Pseudo Anonymous. So thanks, Pseudo.
Everyone
thanks,
applaud for
Paul.
Pseudo. Go on.
Everyone clap for Pseudo Anonymous. You say you want to do this again?
I heartily agree.
Okay. So this one started on April 20th, and I think that I would like to do that again.
Ooh.
So that's a 5-month break, I think. So everyone just tuck us away in the bottom of your subscribed. We're going to be back on April 20th of 2025.
Whoa.
I have lots of shit going on. I can't do this again right away. If you want to, I made it so that I did just a chapter read at the beginning of each podcast. So if you just want to listen to the story, you can go ahead and just listen to just the first 5 minutes of each podcast and just listen to the story. So that's fun. But I mean, it's kind of fun also to listen to the brainstorms and see what we talk about and what the chapter turns out to be. And well, I mean, that's kind of the whole thing, isn't it? Anyway, so I thought today we could roll in the die tower.
Oh, yeah.
For the next, so that I can do the research on the beats and stuff in the next 5 months
Oh my
before
God,
we
this
start
is
up again.
happening. Live on radio.
Yes. All right, so on masterclass.com, they say there are 14 main literary genres. I'm going to roll a die. I guess it will be a 12 or a 13. Number 1, literary fiction. Number 2, mystery. Number 3, thriller. I'm not going to do horror again because we just did horror. Number 5, historical. Number 6, romance. Number 7, western. Number 8, Bildungsroman. Number 9, speculative fiction. Number 10, science fiction. Number 11, fantasy. Number 12, dystopian. Number 13, magical realism. And number 14, realist literature. And those ones after horror I should have subtracted a number from, but we have the brain power to remember that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Ripley has given me a D20, and I'm about to throw it into the die tower. Are you ready, Ripley?
Ready.
Number 5, which is... Oh my god.
Horror.
It's romance.
Oh no, that was the one I didn't want to do.
Okay.
All right, it's on.
That's fine. We could pivot from gore to romance. I'm sure there are subgenres in romance. Let me just look it up for a second.
You know what the benefit of romance is?
Swinding all over the place.
It's gonna be swindy.
Thank God someone made up something of a formula, if you will, to make a romantic situation, and it was me.
Will there be a Swind page on the site?
By
then?
5 months from now.
Yeah.
Who knows? Okay, Ripley has given me a D12. I found a website, Readsy blog. I don't know what that is. But anyway, they have a list of romance subcategories or genres. Are you ready to hear the subgenres?
Oh my God, tell me.
1, contemporary. 2, romantasy.
Romantic?
Wait, and then and this is 2 again, young adult. What's happening? Why? Anyway, I don't like lists that are bad. So I guess 3, young adult. 4, erotic. 5, historical romance. 6, Regency. 7, LGBTQ+. 8, romantic. Comedy. 9, religious. 10, paranormal. 11, gothic. And 12, romantic suspense.
Ooh, romantic suspense.
Are you ready?
You wanna get right?
And we have 2, romantasy.
Oh no.
What is that bad? It sounds like fantasy, right?
Sure does.
So
You have elves and shit.
I don't like elves.
Veto it.
No, we must. Romantasy, wow. We're gonna have such a good time.
You're gonna love doing all those elves and shit.
Okay,
Gold pieces.
Just
wizards.
maybe that's not the kind of romance.
Orcs.
Well, I'm sure we'll find our guru and
fairies and shit.
We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably other kinds of fantasy that don't repulse me as much, right?
Okay.
Oh my god. Wait, it's like Conan the Barbarian. Is that fantasy?
Sword and sorcery.
We'll see.
It is. It counts as one of them.
Okay, well, we'll figure all that. I'm going to find a guru. Thank you so much, TL Bodine. Shout out to TL Bodine. Shout out to Pseudo Anonymous. Shout out to Ripley Stonebrooks. Shout out to me and my great idea.
I love it. I can't wait for this.
So we're going to do
I'm going back
romantasy.
into sword and sorcery. I tried to leave it behind, and it just keeps dragging me back in.
So we'll go back on April 20th, 2025. Thank you so much for listening. Obviously, it'd be great if you could review this, if you could watch anything. We have various YouTubes, and what's the other podcast that we do, Ripley?
That would be Monster Vault.
And that's Ripley's podcast.
Yeah.
So where else can people find you, Rip?
SpookyRoomProductions.com.
Yeah.
Spooky Room Productions with an S.
And I have a page on there as well that I have to clean up, and I don't know. Oh man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to find out what romantasy means, because I don't read romance, nor do I read fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh, and you can find us on the YouTubes, Ripley Stonebrook.
yeah, and I have a YouTube at Crandall Monk. I'm going to be doing a Sims series over the winter. So if you like The Sims 2, I don't know, check it out. I kind of just do what I like there. It's really random stuff. So go check it out. Like, subscribe, rate, review, all that shit.
All the stuff.
Help us out. Help
do.
us out and
Yeah.
make it worth it for us, because it's kind of a pain in the ass. And I enjoy doing this, but I have a lot of other things going on that I could dedicate my time to, so I just would
when
like.
you see that subscriber count goes up, it makes you want to do it.
It's
more.
true, right? So if come on, guys, give us some numbers to make us happy and encourage us, because we want to keep doing this. But sometimes you gotta look at numbers and make hard decisions.
And I mean, if you're gonna subscribe to one channel, you should subscribe to both. Otherwise, it might cause a rift in the relationship.
Oh, I know. I think I have 14 subscribers on YouTube now, which is a little higher than you, if I'm not mistaken. So already it's happening.
It's already happening, and there is resentment.
So let us continue. So let us Crandallites continue to rule. I just made that word up, Crandallite. I don't know if I like that.
I love it.
Okay, we'll let you go. There's nothing left to say, but except we'll see you in a few months. Have a good one.
Leave the Spooky Room Lounge for the last time for this year.
That's right.
Oh my God.
This is the only time yeah. That's it for this. And everyone have good times. Okay, bye.
Bye.